The Eighth Amendment. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. That's the Eighth Amendment. There's a lot in that amendment. First one is typically cruel and unusual punishment. And then we look at excessive bail, and then we look at fines. So this first slide goes over cruel and unusual punishment, which we typically look at for the death penalty. Furman versus Georgia is a landmark case. It's not one that's required for this class, but mentally challenged black men convicted of rape and murder was sentenced to death. The Supreme Court stopped the death penalty for a time as cruel and unusual punishment and targeted minorities more than whites. And they actually had a spreadsheet, and they had basically figures where there were more black men that were on death row and basically convicted with the death penalty than whites. So this was a mentally challenged black man. He was convicted. He did rape and murder there, and he was given the death penalty. And this case basically stopped the death penalties for a certain time. Now, Gregg versus Georgia reinstated the death penalty and gave legislatures two rules to follow to make their laws about the death penalty. So now the death penalty was reinstated. Both these cases are in the 70s, so it was like 73 for Georgia versus Furman, and then the following year after that, Gregg versus Georgia. Atkins versus VA, Virginia, sentencing mentally disabled person to death penalty is a violation of the cruel and unusual clause. Mandatory impositions of the death penalty is unconstitutional. So anything where if you have a certain case and they automatically give you the death penalty, that's wrong. And then one of the craziest cases that I ever went over was Roper versus Simmons. This person was actually basically knew what he was doing, was 17 years old, planned, followed, watched this person, threw them over a bridge. It was really terrible. But the person was under 18 when the crime was committed, was a minor, and given the death penalty. And the Supreme Court, for all minors, for all states, for all areas, determined that anybody under 18 when the crime was committed, they cannot get the death penalty. The death penalty is unconstitutional for anybody under 18. So that is the cruel and unusual section of the Eighth Amendment.